12th, TCS, Infosys and Wipro are going to announce the result. On 14, HCL Technology is going to announce the result. Mindtree is going to announce they are going to announce their third quarter results. So you'll be getting attrition number around 15 to 20%. Okay, so this is nothing but a staff turnover. So if the staff is moving from one organization to another, it will affect on the existing project. So there is this risk type is a project risk. So experienced staff will leave the organization and before the project is finished, right? Top level management change, right? Like this has happened with so many companies. You can see that Patni Computers was the example. So it was took over by iGate, then it was took over by Capgemini. So you can see that right now this Capgemini is nothing but the Patni Computers. Before 10 years, what we were calling. So if the top level management is going to change, then it will affect on the all existing project, right? Because new management have a different priorities, right? Like the previous management was rigorous enough to provide you all the resources and everything, but now new management is not giving you all the physical resources and other part. Hardware unavailability, this is also going to make a project, it is going to affect on the project. So risk type is project. Requirement change, it is going to affect on both project and product, right? Because overall quality is going to be affected if the requirements are continuously getting changed from the client side. Specification delays, again, it is similar, like requirement and specification. So again, it is going to affect on both project as well as product. Size underestimation, okay, that is in terms of line of code or the efforts which are required to develop the project. So it is going to affect both on the project as well as product. Case tool underperformance, like Turbo project, Microsoft project, this enterprise architecture, Microsoft Visio, these all are the case tools. So whatever case tool that you have selected, they are not supporting and they are not performing as per our requirement or expectation, right? So that is going to affect on the final product which we are going to release. If the technology is going to change, okay, so new technology has come, it will affect on the business. And there is a similar product is available in the market with lower cost. Your competitor has released better quality product in a lower cost, that is also a business risk. So right now, IT industry is facing a lot of attrition, staff turnover, biggest problem. Okay, other problems are not that much, like hardware unavailability and management change. This has rarely happen. Requirement change, again, it is frequently observed. Specification delays, it is again frequently observed. Size underestimation, this will not happen unless until the project manager is new. If the experienced project manager is there, then this size underestimation of project is never going to happen. Case tool underperformance, this is also not possible nowadays because a lot of awareness is there. People are using only those case tools which are delivering to their expectation and needs. Technology change, yes, it is occurring, but not that much frequently. And product competition is, again, you see that this is the biggest risk. So out of all this, you can see staff turnover, requirement change, specification delays, technology change, and product competition. These are the existing risk along with their risk type, right, which are faced by the IT industries. So this is my risk management process. First, I have to identify the risk. Okay, so whether the risk is of type project, product, or a business risk. Then I have to analyze the risk. I have to assess what is the probability or likelihood and the consequences of this risk. Then I have to plan. Okay, so I have to draw up the plan so that either first I can avoid, I can prevent. If not, then I can minimize the impact and effect of this risk on my project. And then throughout the project, I have to monitor, okay, so that its impact and effect should not be increased throughout the development of the project. So there are 4 important steps. First, you have to identify the risk, then you have to analyze the risk, then you have to plan the risk, and then you have to monitor the risk. This is called my risk management process. So in my first step, I am going to classify my risk is of type project, product, or business. Then I am going to analyze that what is the probability and likelihood and the consequences of this risk if it is going to occur. Then which kind of plan I am going to prepare or I have prepared so that its impact can be minimized, effect can be minimized. And then I have to throughout the project monitor the risk. So this is my risk management process. Risk identification. So here you have to list out all the potential risks that can happen, that can occur to your project. Then you have to analyze the risk, means you have to prioritize the risk based on the likelihood or probability. Then you should prepare the plan so that you can avoid. So here we have to prepare the contingency plan so that if we can avoid or we can prevent the risk to occur. If not, then you should see that the impact and effect of that on the project should be as less as possible. And then you have to monitor the risk, means you have to assess the risk, and this is a loop, right? So this you have to do throughout. So this is what is my risk management process. So this is very important topic from the exam perspective also. You can expect 1 or 2 questions based on risk management. Okay. These all are the other types of risk. You can see that technology change itself is one kind of risk. People risk, like people morale is getting down, people change, their productivity is decreasing. So these all are the people risk. Organizational risk, organization reorganizes, right? Requirement risk, requirement is changing continuously, and estimation means you have done underestimation or overestimation in terms of cost or efforts or line of code. This is also one kind of risk. Right, so these all are the detailed kind of risk. What we have seen, the 3 major category like project, product, and business. Now you see, these all are the other subcategories of the risk. So here you have to not only just identify the project, product, or business risk, but you have to go into detail and you have to identify all this other kind of risk also. Fine. So this is certain examples have been given. Technology, right? Like suppose if you are using any database, right now you are using some database and which cannot process as many transactions per second as per your expectation. Certain software components which you want to reuse, they contain defects and which limit their functionalities, right? So these all are the technology risk. People risk, you are aware that ideal people are not always available, so it's impossible to recruit staff with the required skill all the time, and key staff are maybe ill or unavailable at the critical times. This may happen, and certain staff members are undergoing training, so that's why also they are not available. So these all are the people risk. Then we have organizational risk, that is organization is restructured and that different management are responsible for the project. Organization is facing financial problem and they have reduced the budget for the project. They are not providing you the resources. That is called organizational risk. Then risk which are related to case tools. Okay. So certain kind of case tools cannot be integrated, or whatever code what they have generated are inefficient. It takes a lot of time to execute. Then risk related to requirement change. So changes to requirement which require major design rework are proposed. So here you can see that major rework in terms of design which is proposed. So now you have to rework on full design. And the customers are failing to understand the impact of the requirement change. They keep changing the requirement, and because of that the overall project is getting delayed. Estimation, like time required to develop the software is underestimated. Like you have counted for 3 months, but actually it took 5 months. The rate of defect repair is underestimated, and the size of the software is also underestimated, right? So you have so these are very few examples so that you can understand what is the risk type and which are the possible risks which are being associated with all this risk. Fine. So this is my first step, risk identification. Okay, because we are seeing this risk management process. So we are talking about first step. Now we are going for second step, that is risk analysis. So here we have to assess the probability and seriousness of each risk. Like out of all, all risks are not going to be seriously going to affect on your project. Okay. So every organization is facing different kind of problems. So out of all this risk for your organization, for your project, which are the risk? What is the probability and seriousness of each risk that is applicable to your organization, your project? So here they classify the probability into very low, low, moderate, high, or very high. And the risk effects might be catastrophic, serious, tolerable, or insignificant. So again, they are classifying the effects into 4 categories as well as the probability also into various categories. In fact, 5 categories. Right. So for every risk, you have to mark a label in terms of probability and its effect on your existing ongoing project. So these 5 and 4, these labels are to be marked against each and every risk. So here you can see that there are certain risks have been listed and its probability as well as effects out of 4 and 5 categories we have listed. So organizational financial problem force the reduction in the project budget. There are less chance which is going to happen. So the probability of this risk to occur is very low. But if this is going to happen, then its effect is catastrophic, means it's highest. Then it is impossible to recruit staff with the skill required for the project, right? So this is now everybody is facing same problem. There is a international shortage of skilled IT staff. So this risk is having high probability and effect is also very high. Key staff members are ill at the critical time. This is having moderate, you can see this kind of chances are average, moderate, but its effect is serious. Software component which should be reused contain defects. This is also the probability this is going to happen is moderate, but effect is serious. Changes to requirement which require major project design. This is also moderate and its effect is serious because you have to rework from design to analysis. The organization is restructured, so this probability is very high and its effect is serious. The database need to be used in the system cannot process as many transactions per second, like it's a moderate. The probability is moderate and the effect is serious. The time required to develop the software is underestimated. This is going to be high. This probability is high. This is going to happen if the project manager is not having experience, right? Otherwise, this is not going to happen. Effect is serious. Case tools cannot be integrated. This is also high, but this is tolerable, right? So you can tolerate this. Customers fail to understand the impact of requirement change. So this is again average, moderate, and it is tolerable. Require training for the staff, and that's why they are not. This is high and this is tolerable. And the code generated by case tool is inefficient. This is also moderate, but it is insignificant. So against each category of risk, okay, like these are the list of risks which can happen to your project. You have to just put this label in a risk analysis, right? So first against the probability and second against the risk effect. So this is what we have done, probability and its effect. But this is just example, okay? So every organization is having their own problem, and that's why you cannot consider this is like applicable to TCS equally, Infosys equally, and any new startup company also equally. But these are the general example, okay? So every organization is having their own issue or their own problem, and accordingly, they have to assess the risk. They have to analyze the risk. The third step is now you have to do the planning against each risk. So consider each risk and develop a strategy to manage that risk. First, whether you can avoid the risk. Okay, so first is avoidance strategy. The probability that the risk will arise is reduced. Okay, so here if you can avoid, then it is very good. Minimize strategy. Anyhow, if the risk is going to occur, its impact on the project should be as low as possible. That can be reduced. So minimization strategy. So if anyhow the risk is going to occur, then you have to ensure that the risk should not do much more major harm on your project or product, right? So impact of the risk on the project or product can be reduced. And last, you have to prepare a contingency plan. Like if the risk is anyhow arises, then contingency plans are to be prepared, and how to deal with that risk that you have to document. So 100% risk avoidance is not possible, all of you are aware. Then anyhow, if risk is going to occur, you can have a minimization strategy, and still if the risk is occur at large, by and large, then you must have a contingency plan. Okay. So always you have to be ready with plan A, plan B, plan C. So these all are the risk management strategies. So again, kindly see to it, like organizational financial problem. So prepare a briefing document for senior management showing how the project is going to make a very important contribution to the goal of the business or the organization, so that that budget allocated for that project cannot be reduced or should not be reduced. Recruitment problem. Okay, you have to alert the customers of potential difficulties and the possibility of delays, because the ideal people may not be available. You are still recruiting. Okay, so this is where you have to talk to the customer and you have to just tell that the project may be delayed because the recruitment is still going on. Staff illness, then in this case reorganize the team so that there is more overlap of work and people therefore understand each other's jobs. Defective components, so whatever defective components, you have to replace it with the other components. Requirement change. Okay, so here you have to derive traceability information to assess the requirement change impact. So there is a change control authority which is going to see the impact of this change on the project, and accordingly they will recommend to go for changes. Otherwise they will talk to the customer and they will tell them what will be the impact of these changes on the overall project. Organizational restructuring. Here you have to prepare a briefing document for senior management showing how this project is making an important contribution for the goal of the organization. Database performance, like you have to investigate the possibility this is what we have a strategies. And last is your risk monitoring. You have to assess each identified risk regularly to decide whether or not it is becoming less or more probable. So now you have to continuously monitor throughout the project. So you have to assess each identified risk regularly and to decide whether or not it is becoming less or more probable. And you have to also assess whether the effects of the risk have changed or it is remaining same. And each key risk should be discussed with your top level management at the management progress meeting. So these all are the risk factors. Okay, type of risk and potential indicators. You can see that if there is a risk type is of technology, then what will happen? Late delivery of hardware or support software, many reported technology problems, right? This all due to this all are the potential indicator which can lead to a risk of type technology. Poor staff morale, poor relationship among the team member, job availability, too many job availability, which is current scenario. So this is going to make a problem of risk in terms of people. So the biggest problem, as I've said, right now is people. Every software organization is currently facing this problem, people risk biggest, because too many jobs are available in the market. So people are leaving the job frequently, and that's why this is the biggest risk. Organization related, right? So a lot of people are doing gossip, lack of action by the senior management, and a lot of teams which have been divided, and a lot of politics, no conducive environment. So these all are the organizational risks. Tools, reluctance by team members to use the tools. Even if these tools are there, they are not aware how to use it. They are reluctant. Complain, they are always complaining about the case tool and its performance, right? And they demand for high-powered workstations or computers. So these all are the risks which are related to tools. Requirement, so many requirements, change requests have been come from customer, and customer always complains. So this is again the biggest risk. This is again faced by the IT industry. And estimation, failure to meet the agreed schedule, or failure to clear the reported defects, or even the predicted cost. These all are the underestimation and overestimation in terms of either efforts or schedule or a cost. So which are the key points? Your good project management is essential for any project to be successful, right? The intangible nature of software causes problems for the management. We don't know what is going to happen. That is called intangible. Nothing can be predictable, right? So any kind of risk, everywhere there is a risk, any kind of risk may happen, can happen, and we should be ready. We should be prepared for that. So managers have diverse roles, but their most significant activities are planning, estimating, scheduling, and managing. Planning and estimating are iterative process which continue throughout the project. Project milestone, like analysis, design, implementation, testing, maintenance, is nothing but a predictable state where some formal report or progress is presented, and you have to deliverable something to the next team. Categories also we have discussed, and project management is concerned with identifying the risk which may affect the project and planning, and to ensure that these risks do not develop into major threats, right? So its effect and impact can be minimized. Fine. So this is related to your project management chapter. Is there any question? Anyone? So I'll give you certain scenario. This is my SPMP document, Software Project Management Plan. This is very important question from your exam point of view. This is what every project manager has to release SPMP document for every project. Okay. So first chapter is introduction. Okay. So objectives of the project, major functions, any performance related things, technical constraints. Then here is your estimation, efforts, okay, time, cost, everything is. Then risk, you see that there is a full chapter on what we have discussed. Then we have a schedule. Last lecture, whatever we have discussed about task network, work breakdown structure, Gantt chart, PERT chart. Then the resource, that is physical resource and human resource. Then your staff organization, that is your team structure and management reporting. Then project tracking and control plan. And then you have a miscellaneous regarding the process tailoring, quality assurance, configuration management, which is change management, V&V model, you are aware, verification and validation. So verification has to be done after each and every phase, while validation is done after the system is fully developed to just check whether the functional requirement listed in your SRS have been fully made by your software or not. And then we have a system testing. So we have alpha, beta, and acceptance kind of testing. So first we have to test the software within organization by testing team. Then we have to release the beta version. and this beta version has to be checked by the friendly customer outside the organization, and then everything is okay, then you can release the software and it is to be accepted by the customer. And then we have a installation and maintenance related things. So this is how you can prepare SPMP document. So most important question you have to remember, I have already circulated this format of Sure. Now I want to get the answer about certain questions. Okay. Chalo, answer me this question. I am making it bold. I am enlarging it. Chalo, you answer for this. Can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we are taking some logical question, right? Like if you are a project manager, how can you deal with this kind of problem? So chalo. Tell me what you should do in this situation. Or first of all, is it ethically correct or whatever they have asked?
Sir, if the staff were informed in advance, then it would have been ethical, I guess.
Can we tell like who has discovered the error and this is going to happen? Can we tell like this? Is it ethical behavior according to you? Like a manager has decided to use the reports of program inspection during like inspection is what in quality assurance department, the team is always going to come to see whether you are following the standard norms which are being set by the organization or not. Okay. So whatever report that they have submitted, they are going to consider for your appraisal. And this report show who have made and who have discovered the program errors. So like if you have made, but I have discovered, so both the names have been mentioned. So is it an ethical managerial behavior? Can we disclose the name? Like suppose if you have submitted the document to this inspection team, can you disclose the name of the person who has discovered the error? Is it ethical? And again, is it ethical? Like if this is to be informed to the staff member in advance that this is going to happen or this would happen. So what will happen next time when inspection process is going to happen? People always are under fear. Okay, and they are always in a revenge taking business. Okay, this time you have discovered my error. Next time in future, I'll discover your error.
But sir, indirectly quality of the product will increase, no?
See, there are so many committees which are being formed in our university or any other part. Okay, so name is never disclosed. Like who has discovered? We have to find out the fact. This is more important because we have to discover the fact from a product, not from a person. So ethically, if you see, you should not disclose the name of the person who has made the error as well as who has discovered the error. Why? Because it is immaterial. My concern is on discrete work and the product, that the error should not be forwarded, propagated to the customer. Before the system is installed to the client side, all errors must be removed. So ethically, if you see, then it is not good. And then everybody is going to be under fear whenever there is an inspection process. And the senior people from QA department are going to come and visit. Please understand, our concern is not to find fault from a people. We have to find out the fault from a product. Agree? Yes or no?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
So ethically, you should not disclose the name. Like suppose if I have been kept in a one committee regarding some employees misbehavior or some performance satisfaction is not there, they are never going to disclose. So we have to just discover the fact that whatever reason and cause for which we have been met, we have to just honestly give that report. But it is never going to be said that these particular things have been submitted and these committee members have been formed. Never. Names are never disclosed. What will happen otherwise? You are aware there is a serious problem. Somebody's job is also getting affected due to that. And what will happen? They may physically harm to the other person later on. They may take the revenge also. If the people are not matured, what can happen? You can easily understand what I am saying. Right? So this is not an ethical behavior. We should not disclose the name of the person, okay? Because our focus is on discrete work and the product. So product should be error free. It's not we are finding the fault from a people, rather we are finding a fault from a product. Right? So this is what this kind of attitude you want if you want to become project manager. Chalo, next. Now I am taking this one. So there are some kind of logical questions which can be there. These are very few. Okay, I have thousands of such kind of questions. So now I am talking about this. Chalo. Even if I put 1 million here, can you develop 100% error-free product? Can anyone guarantee Infosys, TCS that the product what they are going to release as per schedule is 100% error-free?
No.
So anyhow, the fault is always going to be there. Okay, error which is not discovered and found by the customer, it is called fault. It's the only time which is different. Otherwise, error and fault both are same. What we call error during development, if they discover after the system is being installed, it is called fault. Otherwise, error and fault both are same. So is it ethical for a software engineer to agree to deliver a software system with known fault to the customer?
No.
But anyhow, you cannot guarantee, na? You already said that 100% error-free product cannot be released even if you put 1 million here. Okay, so suppose if you tell, like, does it make any difference if the customer is told of the existence of this fault in advance? What will happen? The customer's confidence in product as well as your organization will decrease. Yes or no? Suppose if you want to purchase Titan clock or Titan wristwatch, and if they are going to tell that there is some error, there may be some error. We don't know. So what will happen to your thinking? What you would think about that product? So we should not tell, okay? As and when error comes during maintenance, we are giving 1 year free time. Without cost, we are going to repair, because there are certain kind of errors cannot be discovered unless and until the software is put into real use and it is used by the layman in real environment. So you should not tell, it's not an ethical, okay? So first, yes, we have to deliver the product because 100% error-free product cannot be released. And you should not told the customer, means you should not tell the customer in advance regarding this existence of all the faults. Whatever you have discovered, you have to correct. Remaining as and when discovered by the users, you have to immediately correct. But if you are just going to tell, what will happen? Their confidence in your organization, your product will decrease. Okay, and then you cannot claim about reliability, quality, safety, security, backup, recovery. You cannot. So sometimes even if we are aware, but we should not tell. Ethically, it is not good. Otherwise, their confidence on our product and organization will decrease. Chalo. What about this? 50% month. Okay, effort is always the unit is PM. Like if one person has to work, he has to work for 50 month. This is called 50 PM. So if one person has to work for 50 month, can we hire 50 engineers so that it can be finished in a 1 month?
No, sir. It won't be feasible because all 50 may not be available at certain period of time.
No. There
So,
are communication issue, right?
yes.
Then morale of the existing staff will be down. And what about their training? They have to understand the domain of the project. What about their training? So adding people to a late project always makes it later. We have already discussed. It's not like hardware construction, manufacturing, and software development or engineering is altogether different. Because every project is going to be uniquely flexible. And you cannot finish the project by hiring more number of people, and you can develop it and finish in schedule on time. Okay, so what about this? I already said. In which units can you measure the productivity of a software development team?
PM.
PM, person month, right? Efforts, in terms of efforts, and the unit of that is in terms of person month. And you have to tell me 3 important factors that can affect the production of a software development team. Productivity or production of a software development team.
The moral values like working in a
If they are
team.
having poor morale, right? If they are taking too many leaves, so many coffee breaks, they are not productive, okay? They are not using these tools effectively, lack in terms of team management, poor
Not skillful.
communication, right? So you are aware. So this all you can see, this all you are going to witness when you are going to join the organization, right? This all we have to cover. That's why we cannot. Okay, what about this? Still, we haven't seen CMM. That's why I'm not discussing right now. What about this first? Is it correct? It is the only program which can be assessed for quality. Can I not see your document, SRS, design document, test summary report, source code, your user manual, your input data, whether it is quality or not? It's not only the program, okay, or software which you can assess for quality. And for that, you have to wait until the software is fully developed. No, it's not like that. I can in between also check. I can assess the quality of your code. I can perform the design walkthrough, code walkthrough, right? Like coding standards, whether you have followed or not, variable naming convention, indentation, commenting adequacy, right? I can check your SRS document, SPMP document, design document. I can check your input quality data, right? So this is a wrong. Justify means what? Either true or false, and then if true, then you have to give example. If false, then you have to give the reason, right? Chalo, what about this? There are various kind of team structure. Okay, one is a control centralized, like the way we have in our university. Note down, it is called control centralized. Okay, so we have a vice chancellor. Under the vice chancellor, we have a deans and principals. Under deans and principals, we have a head of the department. Under head of the department, we have a teaching staff. Okay, and then we have a 20 student assigned to individual teacher. So it is called control centralized. Then we have a control decentralized. Control decentralized means what? Now here, suppose if I want to make any decision, then suppose some teacher have to take the decision, then this is to be bring into the notice of head of the department. Head of the department need to bring into the notice of dean or principal, and then this is to be need into bring into decision, bring into the notice of vice chancellor, because it's a control centralized. Everybody has to be involved. In control decentralized, like if the issue which is arising at the teachers level, they are free to take their own decision. It is called control decentralized. Okay, so teacher level they can take the decision without consulting the deans and principal or head of the department. If any decision which is to be taken by head, then heads can take without consulting the deans, and deans can take the decision without consulting the uh, vice chancellor. So one is a control centralized, another is a control decentralized, then democratic decentralized, DD. So here democracy means in India, whatever you want, you can speak, you are aware. So democracy means anybody can take any decision. There is no need to ask to any other person. So everybody is empowered and they are allowed to take the decision. So these are the various kind of team structure: control centralized, control decentralized, and democratic decentralized means the power is distributed among all team members equally. So these all are the various kind of team structures. Okay, process models have been covered or not? I don't know. Like waterfall, linear sequential, all process models topics has been covered or not?
In the laboratory sessions, yes.
Okay, so can you answer this question? Try to see. Okay, this one. So which software process model would you prefer and why? Here the requirement is documented. Thoroughly documented means all requirements have been clear. Customer is also aware. Developers means all the team members as well as project manager also are aware about the requirement. It is very clear. They have past experience, but this project is larger, complex. Otherwise, they have already worked like they have got a project for education system ERP, university system. Okay, so they have already developed for Nirma University. Now they have got for Charuset. So here Charuset system is, let us assume that it is larger and more complex, but all requirements are clear because they have already worked on similar kind of project. And here Charuset as a client also given all the requirements thoroughly. So all requirements have been thoroughly documented. They are very much aware about all the requirements. So which process model would you prefer? If requirements are clear, then which process model should I choose? So anyhow, it will be covered in your class. Okay. So waterfall model. If the requirements are clear, like all of you have seen waterfall. Waterfall is always going in one direction. So you cannot backtrack. You cannot take the feedback and go back. And this is only possible once your requirement is clear. So from requirement to design, design to implementation, implementation to testing, like water is falling without doing undo, okay, or backtracking. This is only possible if your requirements are clear. So the process model which you can use is linear sequential or waterfall. So if the requirements are very much clear and if the project manager has a past experience in developing similar kind of project and all the requirements have been thoroughly documented, then the process model which you can use is a linear sequential or waterfall model, right? Fine. So be ready for this kind of question, right? It should be purely logical question paper. It's not only about theory. It will really test your psychology, your philosophy, your perception, your judgment, your maturity level, right? So you really require the intelligence to answer this kind of questions. Fine. If you have any question, I am ready to answer. So in next lecture, we'll be starting with various kind of metrics, right? Which are used to estimate the size of the project, cost of the project. Any question again?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Yes, so this PPT I have already circulated and all relevant documents have also been circulated. Okay, you can see the past question paper of Charusat or many other universities to see that which kind of questions can be asked. This is not just only to learn, but also to make the practice, right? Because you have to think in this kind of situation and your mature behavior should be reflected while answering the question. Okay, because if you want to really become the project manager and if you have to acquire higher position, then you have to show maturity, right? You should be a team player and you must acquire all the good internal qualities. Otherwise, you cannot acquire good position, higher position, and you cannot sustain it even. Okay, then take care, all of you. See you soon at Charusat. Let us hope in February all of you should return back and be back to the normal again in terms of functioning.